starting again. So, Epictetus. What do we need to know about Epictetus for today? I'm assuming that it's pronounced Epictetus. Perhaps it's Epictetus. Epictetus? Epictetus. I like that. Epictetus. He is one of the Stoic philosophers around 50, 100 AD. Born into slavery. We have none of his writings, but we have notes that students of his took as he taught. That's sufficient for the purposes today. What I've got here comes from the Daily Stoic, which is a journaling collection or a collection of quotes put up by Ryan Holiday. It's kind of one of the avatars of Stoicism in today's culture. I like this book. It has a quote every day and then a little filk on the quote. I was writing on, I use them as journaling prompts sometimes. I read them and then occasionally it prompts me to take my own journal here and write in it. And I was catching up. You can see this was from November 14th, which today is 2 days ago. But it's really stuck with me, this highlight. The observation, he has suffered evil, is an addition coming from you. So this is very much an important part of Stoicism, that we do not control that which happens to us, the externals. We do control how we think about it, how we label it, either for ourselves or for the misfortunes or good fortunes of others. The event itself, here's what Ryan says, the event itself is objective, but how we describe it, that's up to us. And this is a real challenge, right? If we have a broken leg, or if we're in prison, or if we lose our jobs, or if our marriage fails, or if our dog dies, it is profoundly difficult for me to see that in any way other than a calamity. But the ideal Stoic sage is able to view events without those filters. It's worth noting here that the ideal Stoic sage is exactly that. It is an ideal. And none of the writers that we lump under the label of Stoicism profess to be an ideal Stoic sage. It is an aspiration. It is a target. It's a goal against which to measure ourselves. It is something perfect, and we are inherently imperfect. But when faced with a situation, a good response is to at least take a moment and ask, first, what's really going on? And second, how can I react to this in a way that doesn't exacerbate the situation? Maybe that's the best that I can do, not to make it worse. Is there a way that I can look at this situation and treat it as a test from the gods? I think is also a common Stoic objective. Look at the event and think on it as if it were a challenge. And part of the challenge is to see the opportunity in that moment. I liked this. I keep looking over here because this is where my iPad is. Acceptance isn't passive. So when we read about Stoicism, or indeed about Buddhism, there's this notion of letting it be, right? In Buddhist teaching, the highest Dzogchen teachings are no meditation. It is allow the experience, allow the phenomena to simply be as it is, unadulterated, unmanipulated. That, in the Buddhist meditation sense, that does not mean that we allow for engagement in any unwholesome activity. Right? Because letting it be, and this is what the quote here is saying, acceptance isn't passive. So what I wrote in my note here, acceptance isn't passive, and then I riffed on what Ryan wrote. It's a clear-headed view of the nature of the current moment. He says it's the first step towards self-improvement, and I wanted to dig into that a little bit more. If you do not accept it for what it is right now, that is what we mean by acceptance. Recognition of the actual nature of the moment right now, without wishing it was something else, without objecting to the results, without pushing back and saying this is a lie, this is incorrect, something different is happening. We respond often to situations that are uncomfortable by delusion, by really deeply believing that something different is happening. No, they say, acceptance isn't passive. It is to see exactly what it is in front of us. Because if we don't do that, we are a priori beginning. That's redundant. We are a priori going to make poor decisions because we are not responding to the truth, the actual event. We are responding to the filters. This is a much more dynamic sense of acceptance than what I think is common usage. Accepting evil doesn't mean that we sit passively by and allow evil to continue. It means that with the most clear-headed view we can muster, we examine what is in front of us, and we respond with wisdom and compassion. Acceptance is not acquiescence, I write over here, which again is responding to what Ryan writes. It's not passive, it's the first step in an active process towards self-improvement. And that active process is observation of clarity, clear observation of the moment, so that our response can be authentic, because we are not responding from delusion. And delusion is wish fulfillment. Delusion is fear. Delusion is anxiety. Delusion is desire. All of these are things that act as a filter between what is happening in front of us, the situation that we might find ourselves in, and our ability to respond. I'll say it again. It does not mean that we have to like what's happening. We can absolutely respond, accept the situation, and respond with our entire being to resist and push back against that situation. But in order to do that, we have to accept what the situation is first. And the situation is not our thoughts and reactions to it. The situation is a phenomena that has arisen, that has its own attributes, and impinges on our consciousness in a certain way. So there's a real mechanics of perception and response that's going on here. And this quote, which in one aspect sounds either banal or fucking insulting, right? How dare you say that I accept this bullshit? How dare you say that I must leave it as it is when I'm seeing pain inflicted on those I love, or humiliation inflicted on myself? How dare you say that I must acquiesce to that? Well, acceptance is not acquiescence. Let me bring that up again. Acceptance is not acquiescence. Acceptance is clear-headed. It can be brutally clear-sighted. It can be so clear-sighted that we do everything we can to avoid it. We can drink ourselves out of clear-sightedness. We can busy ourselves out of clear-sightedness. We can profligate our anger so that we can avoid being clear-sighted. Accept the moment with none of that conditioning, none of that karma. I know I'm mixing terms here, but there's a reason why I'm getting more into Stoicism, because I find it to be a really deeply useful articulation of some of the same aspects that are in Buddhism. So I'll wrap up from there, and thank you, Ryan Holiday, for putting this book together, and hopefully letting me keep it on this video for the 5 or so of you who are watching it. So if you have watched this far, do the like, subscribe thing, and share the video. I think I saw that I have 699 subscribers right now, and to get to 1,000 by the end of the year, first, is not what I'm on target to do. I average about 3 to 5 new subscribers a week. But if I could get that to be 30 to 50, Bob's your uncle.